at Sacramento, California, where we teach the Most High's covenant and we walk in his ways as best as we can.
You're watching Yahweh's Exiled Empire.
There's a whole lot of people that don't know that the law and the Torah are the teachings and the instructions of the Most High to his people, not only to his people, but all who have an ear to hear.
Shabbat Shalom. Once again, the Most High has been gracious to us and has allowed us to see another Sabbath day, the day that he has designated for Israel to rest and to assemble themselves. So we enter into this place that he has given us. We enter into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise by saying hallelujah. Hallelujah. Most High, we bless thy name by saying Baruch et Yahweh. Baruch et Yahweh hamevarak. Baruch atah Yahweh hamevarak le'alam hayet. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech ha'alam. Asher bikar benu makol hamanyim wenatan lanu ha'torah. Baruch atah Yahweh notan ha'torah. That is to say, blessed be Yahweh. Blessed be Yahweh, the blessed one. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the blessed one for all eternity. Blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim, King of the universe, who selected us from all the peoples and gave us your Torah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah, to the Elohim of Avraham, Yitzhak, and Israel, our King, our Master, our Deliverer, Provider, Healer, Sustainer. Our Elohim, do we come to you today, Master, asking you to forgive us of our sins, cleanse us of unrighteousness, that our prayers be not hindered this morning. Also forgive our ancestors for their sins, O King, that they wanted to serve other Elohims that have us here in this land of exile and have us in captivity. But we thank you this day, O King. We thank you for all things. We thank you for the life that you have provided for us, Master. We thank you for reasonable health in our bodies. We thank you for strength and activity of our limbs. We thank you for the food that you have given to sustain us. We thank you for clothing, Master, that covered our nakedness, and shelter, Master, from the elements of this world. We thank you, O King, for all things, for we know that you do all things, Master. We know you the one that wound, you the one that heals, you the one that kills, you the one that make alive. So we recognize you this day, and we thank you, Master, for all the small victories that you give us. Let us not forget, Master, that it is you that do all things. So we are only standing here today only because of you. There were those, Master, that woke up yesterday that did not wake up today, because you have taken them, O King, and you said that it is done for them. So we thank you this day that you have provided us another Sabbath day, for this is the seventh day that you said that we shall assemble and that we shall rest. And them that keep this day shall be in a covenant with you, O King. And we treasure that covenant, Master, and we come out today out of fear, out of love, and we serve you with gladness in our hearts. Master, we ask that you will look upon this place, Master, look upon us collectively as Israel, and that you will look upon us individually, O King, and that you will bless us. You know all of our needs, you know all of our desires, Master, and you know all of our wants. But more than anything, O King, we ask that you not forget us, that you would zakar, that you would remember us, Master, when that great day comes, that you would take us back to the land, that we may live with you. Master, we thank you for this temple that you have given us, that we may come and serve you in. We thank you for the leadership of this house. We ask that you would continue to bless them, and that you would continue to educate us more and more in thy word, and that we will become more disciplined and more fearful of you, Master, that we would not desire to ever sin against thee. O King, we thank you for keeping our children, that they have traversed throughout this world all week long, but you have brought them home safely to us. And Master, we just ask that you will continue to keep us, Master, until we meet here again. This is our prayer.
Shabbat shalom to everybody today. It's good to be back here in the place that the Most High has provided for us to gather and congregate on this Shabbat day. Join with me, if you would, in our worship reading today in Tehillim, chapter 115. That's Psalms 115. Did I say 15? Yeah, 15. Yeah. Okay. I may have. Let us read. Not to us, Yahweh, not to us, but to your name give glory, because of your grace and truth. Why should the nations ask, where is their El? Our El is in heaven. He does whatever he pleases. He does what? Wait, he does what? He does whatever he pleases. Him. The idols are mere silver and gold made by human hands. They have mouths, but they can't speak. They have eyes, but they can't see. They have ears, but they can't hear. They have noses, but they can't smell. They have hands, but they can't feel. They have feet, but they can't walk. With their throats, they can't make a sound. And the people who make them become like them, along with everyone who trusts in them. Israel, trust in Yahweh. He is their help and shield. House of Aharon, trust in Yahweh. He is their help and shield. You who fear Yahweh, trust in Yahweh. He is their help and shield. Yahweh has kept us in mind, and he will bless. He will bless the house of Israel. He will bless the house of Aharon. He will bless those who fear Yahweh, great and small. May Yahweh increase your numbers, both yours and those of your children. May you be blessed by Yahweh, the maker of heaven and earth. Heaven belongs to Yahweh, but the earth he has given to humankind. The dead can't praise Yahweh, not those who sink down into silence. But we will bless Yahweh from now on and forever. Hallelujah. Our King is an awesome King. You may be seated. He lives forever. Nobody can strike him. Nobody can put their hands on him. Nobody can beat him up. He doesn't bleed. He never sleeps. He never slumbers. He is all-seeing, all-knowing. He is everywhere present. That's the makeup of the Creator. That other guy puts his pants on the way we do. He sleeps, he slumbers, and he gets beat up. But the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov in Israel never slumbers, never sleeps, and nobody can put their hands on him. And he does as it pleases him. Isn't that something? He functions the way it pleases him to function. And he smiles upon us. And it says his eyes are always upon Israel. He caused us to wake up this morning with soundness of mind, completeness of thought, and with anxiousness to get to the house. I want you to think about something now. You have to think about your ancestors, Israel, when they were in right standing with the Most High. You got to think about the fact that these people were anxious to get to the house. When you talk about the house, we're talking about the temple, Jerusalem. They were anxious to gather and assemble and be around that particular place. And you talk about party, as Al Jarolio said, party, party, party. Our people partied. Oh, they had a time. Pesach, the feast and the festivals that required food. They gathered around Jerusalem. They broke out their fire pits and they roasted and barbecued and they fellowship with it. Can you come on y'all, come on. Israel, as far as you could see, the men gathering and all the banter and all the noise and all the rejoicing and all the excitement going on around the temple. I don't know. Can't wait. Can't wait for that party. So with that being said, remember that our ability to enjoy what I have just talked about is dependent upon our walking in obedience to the mitzvot that he has given us in this exile. Actually, he's given them to us. We're still practicing and walking in them in this exile. We're preparing for our return. When we get back to the land, I heard the writer said, let's go up to Jerusalem, for the Torah of the Most High is going to be taught there. Can't wait. I mean, I wish it was now. I'm not even going to say tomorrow. I wish it was now. And then we could look and hear the words, let Yah arise and let his enemies be scattered. Watch all of his enemies scattered before him and decimated and destroyed. And then there was only Israel and their mighty Elohim. Oh, come on, y'all. That's something to shout about now, right there. That's something to get excited about right there. Well, the Moray, Sean Appleton, is still in the driver's seat. And as they would say in Congress, I yield the floor to the Honorable Moray Appleton.
Amen. To the beneficent Yahweh, who we can truly say is the author and finisher of our faith. We trust in the Most High, the one has created, the one that is talked about in Devarim chapter number 6, verse 4, says what? Moray said it earlier today. Shema Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, Yahweh is one. So to that one who created all things, I thank him for allowing me to be here today with you to talk about the things germane to Hebrew Israel. So I thank him first that we're able to come back here one more again, just to tell it like it T.I. is. I shan't, I won'tn't worship another Elohim other than Yahweh El Shaddai. Eya Asher Eya. You looked at me crazy when I said I shan't and I won'tn't. Yes, I spoke good English. I won'tn't worship another Elohim. So I'm thankful to be here today. To all the dignitaries that are here in the room with me. I'm looking around the room and I see Moray Yeshai Beverly, Shabbat Shalom. I see Moray Gerald Beacom, Shabbat Shalom to you, sir. I see who? Brother Charles, Shabbat Shalom to you. And to the Honorable Robert B. Holman Jr., the leader of this house, I say Shabbat Shalom to you, sir. Shabbat Shalom. For those of you that are joining us by way of the stream, I can't do it. I'm already here. For those of you that are joining us by way of the stream, and that means for all of you that showed up at that podcast this week and decided to come in there and troll us this week. You too. I left out of that podcast and I thought I was okay, but I'm not. So I guess I'm coming for your neck today. So, for those of you that are joining us by way of the stream, Shabbat Shalom to you. For those of you that are our descendants that are here with us and those that are not, hopefully something that will be said here today that will allow you to see further than we did. For those of you that are not here with us today, that are listening to these recordings and are saying, okay, our ancestors walked in the ways of the Most High the best way they knew how. They may not have agreed on everything. And I can tell you from experience that me and your Moray don't agree on some things. Me and Moray Beacom don't agree on some things. Me and Moray Yeshai Beverly don't agree on some things. But you want to know what's interesting about all that? The things that we don't agree on are the things that are not specific. They're nuances that are in the text that can be interpreted a certain way. When the Most High says worship on the Shabbat, we don't disagree on that. It's the parts that we have to fill in, the gaps that we have to fill in that make it make sense, where we have the little idiosyncrasies. But I am often thankful for the Most High that when we matriculate back into the land, there won't be none of that. The Most High is going to set it straight, and that's how it's going to be. Period. The end of story. That's one of the things that's a byproduct of being in exile that's a negative, is we don't have our Torah teachers. We don't have all of the Hebrew literature that God destroyed. We can't create a clean picture of what being Hebraic is. We can only go off of what we know right now. So for those of you that are not here with us today, Shabbat Shalom to you. Hopefully something will come out in the future that will let you see further as you stood on the shoulders of giants. Shabbat Shalom. Now, Vayikra, chapter number what? Somewhere in 19, I think, verse 32, says something like this. It says that you are to stand and acknowledge those that have what? Gray hair, right? So turn to the nearest person that's closest to you. Look them in the eye. You got to turn around. You missing all of this because look. Okay, you looking at me. All right. Turn to the person that's closest to you, or look them dead in the eye that's got that gray hair, and just tell them Shabbat Shalom. Excellent. We honor our elders. You may be seated. We honor our elders. We honor those that have wisdom, that are able to impart into us young bucks what we're supposed to be doing. So we honor those who honor the mitzvot that are our elders. For those of you that are joining me here in the studio audience, I say Shabbat Shalom to all of you. We're going to go, I'm not even going to designate a side. We're just going to go subterranean. We're going to go to the stratosphere. Okay, that's what we're going to end up doing. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. All right. As a matter of protocol, I'm going to keep going over this till we get here. We have a Moedim that's getting ready to come up. It is a festival. That festival is what? Yom. Yeah, Terumah, the blowing of the shofar. That's getting ready to come up. It happens when? The mitzvot that are written on it. In the 7th month, on the first day, we're to blast the shofar. We're to remember Yom Teruah, the blasting of the trumpets. Now, depending on whether or not you're on a solar or a lunar calendar, it depends on when you celebrate that, okay? But the point here is that you celebrate it. and you remember it. Okay? That's one of those things that's going to get set straight in the land. So there won't be any discussion about it. But while we're in exile, that does not give you an opportunity to say, I'm just not going to do it. You have to do it. Okay? Now, can we do it in its totality? No. Why? Because there are things that are associated with it that when Moshe was up on the hill, he said, when I give you the Torah and the mitzvot that go along with it, do you not think that the Most High didn't give him the mitzvot that go along with that particular festival? Because why? That festival has the interaction with, if I can get it to come up, this thing freeze up on me? It sure did. Look at that. What a wonderful day. We're going to end up doing this stuff right now. Let's just turn him off and turn him back on. Maybe that might kick him in the gear. And maybe not. All right. I got to get my diagram of my Mishkan up here. So it interfaces with it, okay? So we have a Moedim that's coming up. We got to make sure that we prepare for that. Read the mitzvot that go along with it. We're going to go over maybe it today that go along with that particular one, all right? So that is the one that is coming up. Now, I also want to do another issue of protocol here. I said something 2 weeks ago, and my dear sister pulled me aside last week and said, you didn't say nothing about it, about asking us about what you want us to talk about. Have you thought about where we want to go next? You said the Shabbat. Go back over the Shabbat. What is the Shabbat? What does it mean to us? Why is it so important? When do we celebrate? Or we should observe it. Not celebrate it, but observe it. Its importance. Anybody come up with anything else? Okay. We'll deal with that one once we get through this particular series. So I did want to acknowledge that and go make sure you understand where we're getting ready to go. All right. Now, I want to go over something that happened this week at this particular podcast. How many of y'all listened to the podcast? You know what we talked about? We talked about what I talked about last week, which was Mathew chapter 19. Okay? And what we did that whole entire time was we came with receipts. Now, at the end of that particular podcast, like I said, I thought I was okay. I was he, and ha, and kiki about, what this individual had said at the end. And they called us out on something. And they said, you know what? I think you guys are absolutely wrong. Have no idea what you're talking about. And the astuteness of the young people in there wrote something in the chat. And they said, well, what is it that you disagree with? What did they write? Nothing. But then turned around and referred us to some reference material that we need to go check out. Listen, that's how I know you don't know what you're talking about. If you disagreed with something that we said, then point it out to me. Why do you got to go refer me to something else? You are not confident in what you're telling me? You're not confident in the fact that you're disagreeing with me on something? And then when I ask you what, it's radio silence, but you need to go talk to somebody else. I bet you that pastor that sent you over here didn't tell you to do that. Because I tell you what, if we got in front of your pastor, the next thing you're probably going to be doing is the Shabbat. I don't think you want either one of us in front of your pastor. So, if you're going to come with something, come with your receipts. That's all we did, was simply read it Hebraically. You keep trying to make this Christ individual a Christian. When he walked this earth, he was a Hebrew. Okay? So, in specificity to last week and the podcast teaching, we actually praised your Christ. We said he did an awesome job. What did he do an awesome job at? He did an awesome job of literally doing exactly what a Hebrew actually should do. When confronted, where are my downloads? Here we are. Oh boy. Let me just grab it. Hold on for a second. Type. There we go. Open that up. I can take this one. Can I? No, I can't. Hopefully it's in here. See, that's what I get for not coming down here earlier enough. Come with your receipts. We're going to see if it's in here. Come on. There he is. I just need you to come up here just like this. Oh, boy. Would you, I was going to say, would you believe he froze up on me again? But no, I'm good to go. Because that's what I want. I just want to keep the Torah in front of you while we talk about it. Okay? Come with your receipts. That's all we ended up doing, was talking about what Christ actually did when he came down here. And again, we praised him because he told that person to do what? Follow the mitzvot. You don't believe me. Chapter 19, Mathew 16. He told him to follow the mitzvot. And he said, listen, if you don't know how to do them by yourself, then sell all your stuff and follow me. Sometimes it's great to have a woman behind you supporting you, because we was having some pillow talk this morning, and my wife said something that was very interesting that I didn't even see here. Now, this is conjecture and this is satire. So don't look at this like, oh, you pulling that out, now you spiritualizing what's over there. No, she made a point. She said, what happened with this individual? This was a rich man that came to Christ, and Christ told him at the end, sell all your stuff and follow me. She said, one of the things, my wife said, it's interesting to me that Christ, who's poor, told this rich man to sell all his stuff, which would have given him cash, and come follow me. All your riches, I'm going to be needing them. So one could interpret this as he had an ulterior motive for telling this guy to sell his stuff, because he would have made what we call in the black community a come up. Okay? What was that? What you saying? Which he was selling, give it to the poor. Come follow me, right? We are saying that in jest. But again, here, what does he tell him? He says, follow the mitzvot. If you can't do them, sell all your stuff and come follow, give it to the poor, sell it to me. I mean, not sell it, follow me. Come follow me, okay? That's what he said. In both instances, the mitzvot are at play. Are they not? Christ's whole entire job was to come here, save his people from their sins, right? Didn't say the world, which make John 3:16 invalidated. So what? Yah so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. That's a lie. Go to Shemot chapter number 4, verses 20 through 22. It will tell you that the firstborn of the Most High is Hebrew Israel. So he can't say his only son. That's not true. We have precedent that proves otherwise. He gave his only begotten son, what? That who should ever believe in him should have eternal life. We know that's a lie, because out of the mouth of Christ himself, when he tells the rich man, hey, what do I need to do to inherit eternal life? He says, do the mitzvot. It doesn't say, come follow me. You got that. John wrote that? Okay. Well, John, we just invalidated you because your teacher, you must not have been listening when all of y'all was 12 of y'all was around him and this was happening, on how to actually do it. The correct thing was to say, follow the mitzvot of the Most High. But let's see, go back over to 19. He says something, he starts rattling off the mitzvot to him. See, the reason why I can't let this go is because this is something that we can all use today, and it will hang everybody up. If Christ out of his own mouth tells you how to get eternal life, then why would you believe anything else? And they have no answer. What does it say in 19? What does it say? It says, the man, let's go down here. It says, after he says, observe the mitzvot. He says, the man asked him, which ones? And he said, don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't steal, don't give false testimony, honor the father and the mother, love your neighbor as yourself. What is so special about those? And I'm going somewhere with this. What's special about those? Let me ask you a question. Go ahead. Five of them are in the 10 utterances. Yep. Except that last one, which is a half of one, because there's a front part to it. It says, in the issue of revenge, love your neighbor as yourself. Okay? That is another mitzvah. He's missing the front part of that. He says, but those first 5 are in what? The 10 Commandments, or what they call the 10 Commandments, or the 10 utterances, right? They're central. Come on, you in the same place I'm getting ready to go. They're central to what? The norms of society. That is exactly where I'm going. Because you go to work, you interact with people every single day. You might see them while you're doing a client for real estate. You might see them while you're doing your business, while you're doing Mary Kay. You might have them at school where you guys are attending. You encounter people every day and they say, I'm a good person. Because I do that. I don't murder. I don't commit adultery. I don't steal. I don't give false testimony. I don't lie. And I honor my father and my mother. And I try to love my neighbor as myself. What is so special about that? Okay. The issue here is, out of all of Yeshua's teachings, he never tells you about that. He never tells you any mitzvot concerning this. These are special to the Hebrews because these are connected to this. Right? There are things germane to this that are mitzvot that make our mitzvot, I'm going to say it, superior to anything else. Other religions can have those. But the one thing that sets Hebrew Israel apart is that. You can have every single one of our rules and regulations. You do them now in the United States. Every single one of the rules and regulations you can probably apply. But the one thing that sets our stuff apart is all the rules and regulations, because they all apply to this thing. They're central to that. That's what makes ours different. Because in what? Here now, you don't have an instantiation of anything going back to, at least in Christianity, does anything point to this? Okay. That's why y'all don't do Pesach. That's why you don't do any of that other stuff. It's irrelevant because it has to connect to that. That's why our laws and rulings are special. Because the thing that sets our laws and rulings apart is the application of the Mishkan and everything germane to it. That's why my thesis is that this is Torah. all of the things that tell you how to make it and all of the rulings and laws and statutes that interface with it. Does Shabbat interface with that? Yes. Do all your Moedims interface with that? Yes. There are mitzvos that are not talked about in that one particular section when it's talking about what's on those tablets that interface with this thing. And that's what I'm saying. This is why I'm sitting here saying that when I read these are special to me because these connect to something that every other religion does not have. And they don't have the Mishkan, which is where the Most High dwells. Yes, sir.
There's one additional thing about the Mishkan that is systemic to the whole, and that is every aspect, including the foundation of the Mishkan, the silver foundation, the joints, and everything of it has specific meaning to salvation and your eternal life. Every piece of it, the silver, the gold, the badger skin, everything about that, the material in it is systemic and has some connection to your salvation.
Right. Let me summarize what I'm saying. In Christianity, what are the commandments? He said, whatever JC says. What are the commandments and what are the rules that you have to follow in Christianity? What are they going to say? Love your neighbor, and they're going to start quoting what? The 10 commandments. Other religions can use your commandments, but what you will not see in Christianity is any references to that Mishkan. And you can't complete the commandments without it. So there's something missing in here, Stephen. Okay? With this issue of not acknowledging the Mishkan. Okay. Anyway, back to my little dissertation here. Where it says right after he names all of those, he says, the young man said to him, I have kept all these. Where do I still fall short? I know there are more than these, Yeshua. And he says, if you're serious about reaching the goal, which is what eternal life, come sell all your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have riches in heaven. We define what that is. And then what? Come, follow me. Why? Because I'm going to show you the ones that you're falling deficient on. You're right. There's more than just those. Follow me. I'll show you how to do them. Because again, in Matthew chapter 5, verse 17, somewhere around there, he says, I didn't come to abolish the law, but I came to fulfill it. Another word for fulfill is carry them out. I didn't come to do away with them. I came to show you can do them. So come follow me. I'll go ahead and show you how to do them. But then the young man heard this and went away sad because he was wealthy. And again, the whole entire issue here is stop fighting this issue of trying to come in our comment section telling us what we're not talking about. You're not quoting anything. And all we're simply telling you here is that even your Christ is telling the same thing that we're telling you, which is follow the mitzvot. And you can't do that. I don't know why. But that's all that we're saying here. I've got off on that tangent again because, like I said, it built up in my head. I was like, oh, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. I'm starting to establish a precedent. Don't come in the comment section. Don't come anywhere around us and you don't have your paperwork. Show me. And don't show me from some commentary from some cat that's out here just writing about whatever. I want to hear it from the mouth of the Most High. If we get back in the back part of that whole entire piece where Yeshua is saying you're going to sit on 12, you're going to be judges over Israel, where is that in the text? I'm getting ready to show you that today, that's a lie. Matter of fact, let's get into it. Because there's a mitzvot that's embedded in what Yeshua is sitting there telling them and said, well, what about us? We sold all our stuff and followed you. And he said, well, you are going to be judges in the land. He says that in the text. That's a lie. And I'm going to show you in a mitzvot why that's a lie. But anyhow, since we all friends, they rattle off as a little bit. Let's get into where we are right now, and let's get through this because I want to get to this mitzvah. So stick a pin in that, all right? He said, fake news, fake news. I told your Moray, I said, I know how he feels about Donald Trump. He loves Donald Trump. He is the biggest Donald Trump supporter you'll ever see. No, I'm kidding. He's back there steaming already. I told him, I said, if Donald Trump was around when Hebrew Israel was around, I said, you know what? He would probably be a big supporter of Hebrew Israel. With this, every time that somebody would come out like Christianity or something, he'd be like, fake news, that's fake news. That's not real. That's not what Yahweh said, fake news. Okay? Where are we right now in devarim or Deuteronomy? That's where we are currently, and I'm sorry I don't have it up there because my screen went down, but we're in 15 and 16. We're going to cover those two particular chapters today. Let me get you back up to speed like we're in a soap opera. Beyond the Gates. Y'all watch that? No, you don't. Okay. He said Beyond. It's a black soap opera. I don't watch it either, yeah. I catch glimpses of it as I'm walking by. My wife's got it glued on the TV. The first 13 chapters of devarim is the Most High or at least Moshe. Let's say that. Moshe talking to Hebrew Israel about their history, having them remember everything that the Most High has done for them, who they've warred with, all these issues that come up along the way. It's kind of a real cliff notes of, if I would say that's a good analogy. If I was going to take the cliff notes of the whole entire history of Hebrew Israel, going from Bereshit to Devarim, I would read Devarim chapters 1 through 13. That's a cliff note of the whole of a big scope for Hebrew Israel. Because I'm saying going back to Bereshit because Bereshit is where the covenant is established. So I got to go back all the way over there and get it. Although in Shemot is where Hebrew Israel is birthed. So those are the first 13 chapters. 14th chapter of Devarim starts Moshe going over and summarizing the mitzvot before they go into the land. He's reminding them of them. Okay? And so as Moshe is doing this, he's giving them, you're going to see a couple of different things. Moshe's going over ones that they already know and adding some information to them. And he's also introducing new ones before they go into the land. Okay? So that's where we're at right now. 14, I asked you if you were in Moshe's position and you were getting ready to take this ragtag group of people across, you think all the people that you know in Sacramento. That would be Hebrew Israel. And you're getting ready to take that group over into the land. And he's laughing already. He said, yeah, same problem Christ had, trying to get folk to actually follow the mitzvot in the first place. But you're getting ready to take them over the Yarden. But before you get there, what are the first things you're going to tell them? And you guys told me that you would tell them about not worshiping idols, right? And food. Why? Because those are the two things that you're going to encounter that are going to be forefront in your mind the most, right? You do that every day. Do you eat? Do you not eat? You don't eat? Okay. You eat every day. And when you sit down at a restaurant and go somewhere, do your mitzvot kick in? Soon as you walk to the restaurant, matter of fact, while you're in the parking lot trying to figure out where you're going to go eat, am I going to go to Long John Silver's today? Am I going to go to Red Lobster? Oh, I know I don't have a lot of options there because these mitzvot just kicked in. Right? So food is on your mind every day, those mitzvot, and then you see idolatry all over the place. Matter of fact, you got a couple idolaters in your pocket. You got a couple of dead hypocrites printed on green paper with that paper saying, in who we trust, the God of fortune is what we trust in. Right? So there's idolatry all around you. So Moshe is telling them, hey, listen, you're going to be encountered by these. Keep these at the forefront of your mind. Those are the two concepts starting in 14 we deal with, 13 and 14 that we deal with. Now we're going to go to 15. All right, let's go to the top. Woo! These are mitzvot. Now write these down because I'm not going to necessarily go over them when I get there. In these 2 chapters, we are going to talk about the Shemitah year, which if you go back and reference Vayikra, chapter number 25, that's where you will get your foundational pieces for the Shemitah. That's what we're going to go over, or he's going to reiterate in these next chapters. Second one, the mitzvot on the firstborn being set aside for Yahweh. You can reference this prior to this point in Numbers or Bad Midbar, chapter number 3, verse 11 through 13. And also in Shemot or Exodus, chapter 13, 1 through 16. It talks about the setting aside of the firstborn for the Most High. You should know that already as our story for, as we're coming out of Pesach, that particular time. Who was killed in Mitzrayim? The firstborn. All right, so that's where the genesis of where all these mitzvot start. So that's references there. In 15 and 16, we're going to go over the festivals. We're going to go over Pesach, Matzah, Shavuot, and Sukkot. This is an easy one. If you want a reference to all of those are in Vayikra, chapter number 23, or Leviticus, chapter number 23. Notice how I'm giving you all of the references prior to devarim, prior to what's going on. So I'm saying he dealt with this before already. Now, there is another mitzvot that we're going to talk about here, which is appointing judges. This is where I'm going to call out Christ. I'm going to call him out on this one. Appointing judges is in this piece. From what I can tell, and if the community of Hebrew Israel can find otherwise, there are no other references prior to now about appointing judges. This is where it shows up the first time. Now, I may be wrong. Somebody might correct me on that. But this is the first time this mitzvot is introduced. Okay? And the last one is idolatry. He's going to talk about that in 15, 16. And the related readings to this is going to be going all the way back to Shemot, actually chapter number, or Exodus 34. And in terms of the Torah covenant that's there. And then also in devarim, or Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verses 1 through 11. So this is going to be one that he's already talked about prior to. Okay? Let's go over the mitzvot. Okay? If we got those, we'll start right at the top. We're going to talk about the Shemitah year. It says, at the end of every, how many years? 7 years. You are to have a Shemitah. Here is how the Shemitah is to be done. Every creditor is to give up what? Come on, this could not be in the United States. They're not doing this. Listen to this. He says, every creditor, Capital One, Chase, BMO, HBC, schools. Give me another one. Good. That's good. You know what? That's cold-blooded. Cold-blooded. Because, that's Rick James, if y'all know that. Y'all ain't supposed to owe nobody. Right? Hebrew Israel is not supposed to be in debt. You're going to get to the mitzvot that says that you will lend to folk. Right. Not the other way around. So it's good that y'all didn't come up with it. But all you creditors out there, you are to give up what he has loaned to his fellow member of the community. He is not to force his neighbor or relative to repay it, because Yahweh's time of remission has been proclaimed. So in Hebrew Israel, if you make a loan to your Hebrew brother, this is not to the foreigner. That's not them. This is to the Hebrew brother. You make a loan to them. On the 7th year, the Shemitah year, you are to relinquish that debt, no matter where it is in its repayments. Relinquish the debt. Now, let's say the Shemitah year, let's go 2000, let's use, these years that we're using. Let's say in 2000 was the beginning, or let's say 1999 was the Shemitah year. So the next year is 2000, right? We go 7 years forward, right? 7th year, you're to relinquish that payment. What if I start lending to you in 2005? It still relinquishes it. It doesn't go 2005, 7 years forward for that. That ain't your Shemitah year. It's the Shemitah year for all of Israel. So in 2005, if I lent you $40,000 and your payment, we didn't set up a payment plan where the next 2 years you give me $20,000 back. If you still owe, or they haven't only paid you back $5,000 and you still got $35,000 out, that $35,000 is gone. That's how that works. You got to relinquish it. Okay? It says, you may demand. Now, this is the part, again, where I made specificity. This is to Hebrew Israel. Now we're going to talk about the foreigner. It says, you may demand that a foreigner repay his debt, but you are to release your claim on whatever your brother owes you. That is to say how I'm interpreting this, if someone corrects me on this. If I lent the foreigner $40,000, in the Shemitah year, I can demand whatever is the balance back. Right. So every loan to the foreigner, you get it back in 7 years. Now, we got interest that you put on there too. So I love how Hebrew Israel is set up the way the Most High has this. It makes much more sense than what we under right now, I guess, if you think about it. All right. But while I was in those years of Christianity, I didn't hear us come over here and get these business practices on how to do stuff. I hear none of that. It says, in spite of this, there will be no one needy among you, because Eya Asher Eya will certainly bless you in the land which Eya Asher Eya, your El, is giving you as an inheritance to possess. If only you will what? Listen carefully to whom? Yahweh, your El, says, and take care to do what? Obey all these mitzvot I am giving you today. Yes, Eya Asher Eya, your El, will do what? Bless you as he promised you. You will lend money to many nations without having to borrow. And you will rule over many nations without their ruling over you. So I guess in exile, we are in the complete reverse of that. You're going to see that come up in Devarim chapter number 28 whenever we identify who this ragtag group of people who don't want to obey the mitzvot is. All right? This is happening to you right now. Do us as a collective of people lend money to folk? Other nations? Can you say that black folk or melanated people, let me just put it that way, lend money to another country? No. Okay? Man. Y'all don't rule over another nation either. It says, if someone among you is needy, one of your brothers, in any of your towns, in any of the land Eya Asher Eya your El is giving you, you are not to harden your heart or shut your hand from giving to your needy brother. Now, I want to emphasize, my parents did this all the time to me. I want to emphasize the word need and not want. There's a difference between the two. Okay? This is needy. All right, 8. No, you must open your hand to him and lend him enough to meet his what? Need. And enable him to obtain what he wants. You may lend to him so he can get what he needs. He may take what he's got and turn it into something to get what he wants. But I'm not giving you what you need and you want. I'm giving you your need. Okay. Guard yourself against allowing your heart to entertain
the mean-spirited thought that because the 7th year, the year of Shemitah is at hand, and would be stingy toward your needy brother. I need $40,000, and the Shemitah year is next year. No, man, I can't do that, man. I mean, literally, I'm going to lose 40 G's. That's what you're telling me. So the Most High is telling you, listen, you still have to lend it to him, okay? You're looking out, and see, this is weird to us because black folk don't look out for black folk like that. We ain't about that, okay? That ain't our mindset. But that's crazy. You got to give it up. So don't be stingy. I want to give you this money. Get these misfolks. All right. He says what? He says, in the year of the Shemitah is at hand, you would be stingy towards your needy brother and not give him anything. For then he may cry out to, he may come tell me. He may come tell Papa. He may come to against you, and it will be your sin. Rather, you must give to him, and you are not to be grudging when you give to him. If you do this, your El will bless you in all your work and everything that you undertake. Don't worry about it. That 40 G's, I'm going to give it back to you. You'll get it. You'll get it back. Just follow the mitzvot, okay? Yes, sir.
When you read this, what do you hear? What do you really hear when you read this?
A practical sense of communion with your brother.
Yeah, but what else do you hear?
It's
But
ethics.
there's some. He keeps talking about if your brother needs, you, Israel, are to lend it or give it to him or lend it to him. Mm-hmm. What I hear the Most High saying, Israel, you are wealthy enough to be able to do this.
Yeah.
You're not a poor nation.
100%.
You have the wealth to be able to do this. Therewith, if within the Shemitah year or close to it, you have to lend that 40,000, and next year's Shemitah, it's nothing to you.
Right. Yeah, because you got it.
That's what I hear. It's nothing to you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 100%. Right. She said it also means that you don't need to sell. Mm-hmm. 10, rather, you must give it to him, and you are not to be grudging when you give to him. If you do this, your El will bless you in all your work and everything that you undertake. 11, for there will always be poor people in the land. That is why I'm giving you this order. You must open your hand to the poor and needy, brother in your land. Brother in your land. If your kinsman, a Hebrew man or woman, is sold to you, he is to serve for 6 years. But the 7th year, you are to set him free. Okay, I'm not talking about slavery like y'all experience it over here. Okay, it's a little different. Think of this as a worker. Think of it as somebody as obviously as your Hebrew brother, you respect them. Okay? But they've gotten so poor that they had to sell themselves into servitude. Okay? You are to set him free. Moreover, when you set him free, if y'all was over there, them Christians was using this slavery text. Everybody heard of the slave Bible? It has everything, all the mitzvahs that are germane to slavery in it. Not knowing if you would have probably listened to every 7 years, all them slaves should have been going free if you was following after this. But you wasn't. They didn't put that one in there. It says, moreover, when you set him free, don't let him leave empty-handed, but supply him generously from your flock, threshing floor, and wine press, from what your El has blessed you with. You are to give him. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Mitzrayim, and your El redeemed you. That is why I'm giving you this order today. Doesn't that paint a different picture of slavery? I've come down on my luck. I'm going to work for you. And if you're paying me a wage, actually, that's money I'm saving because I'm not spending it on anything because you're taking care of me. At the end of that time, this Shemitah year, I'm going to go ahead and get released, and I'm going to get a parting gift, a nice little severance package on the way out. That is totally reversed from your idea of what slavery is. Okay? I won't be poor anymore. That's what this is dealing with. The Hebrew Israel has a thriving economy. Here's your, when they issue the budget, the United States, this is what okay. 16. But if he says to you, so this is the slave, we're going to get into the fact that he doesn't want to leave. He loves it with you, okay? But if he says to you, I don't want to leave you, because he loves you and your household, and because his life with you is a good one. Take an awl, which is a little, like a spike, and pierce his ear through, right into the door. You're going to put his ear on the doorpost, give him a mark, and he will be your slave forever. Do the same with your female slave. Don't resent it when you set him free, since during the 6 years of service, he has been worth twice as much as a hired employee. Then Yoel will bless you in everything that you do. Can we do that one in exile? No. Can we do any of the ones that I've read prior to this in exile? No. You can practice them if you wanted to say, hey, listen, I could say, well, I had to change my answer on the ones that are dealing with the Shemitah year. If you designate it and say, hey, okay, we're going to have a Shemitah year every 7 years, if we knew what that was, I guess the answer is no. Yeah, because we'd have to establish when the Shemitah year is, when the person would actually have to either repay it or relinquish it. So without the establishment of that Shemitah year, we couldn't do it. But again, matter of fact, let me add to this. When would we know that, though? Is that it's connected to the land itself. Okay? When we get back into the land, that's day one, year one. Then you count your 7 years from there, moving forward. These are all mitzvot that are systemic to Hebrew Israel when you're in the land.
I have a however.
However,
if I happen to be a very wealthy Hebrew in this exile, and I have millions and billions, I could do this. Yeah. I could practice this mitzvot.
Yeah.
But on a common scale in terms of where we are, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But if I was a Hebrew, and I was a part of a Hebrew congregation, and I had wealth, now I'm talking about wealth.
Yeah.
Millions, billions. And my brethren needed, I could help them to become better off.
Right. And then you could instantiate, okay, at the end of the 7 years, since we're in exile, this would be day one of year 7 in 7 years. We would establish a payment plan over those 7 years to either get it back or in that 7th year, whatever's left, I would have to relinquish it. You could practice it while you in exile, okay? But really where it's systemic to is us being in the land because Hebrew Israel is a rich nation itself, okay? Now, I want to make sure that y'all stitch this. Make sure, what do y'all do? Y'all hashtag all this stuff? Timestamp this or whatever you do. Make sure you send that portion of this teaching to Kyrie Irvin. You think I'm playing with y'all? Send it to Kyrie Irvin. Wasn't he the one that was out there marching in New York because he had made mention something about Negroes to Hebrews or something like that? Yeah, I got to get the story right. Whatever that video was that came out, and he referenced it, and then all the Hebrews showed up. Okay, make sure, Kyrie, your brother in Sacramento is in need. We are in need. Come talk to us. Let's keep going. Where are we at here? We left off here at 19, and we'll finish out the chapter here. It says, now we're going to talk about the firstborn. And again, those references to the firstborn are back in Bamidbar, chapter 3, verses 11 through 13, and in Shemot, chapter number 13, 1 through 16. It says, all the firstborn males in your herd of cattle and in your flock, you are to set aside for Eye your El. You are not to do any work with the firstborn from your herd or shear a firstborn sheep. Each year, you and your household are to eat in the presence of Eye Asher Eye. This is one of the mitzvot I'm going to say right now that are outside of Torah that relate to it. Why? Because you can't do this mitzvot unless you have the Torah in place. The Mishkan has to be there. Because where you're eating it. You're eating it in Yerushalayim, and it says eating it in the presence of Eye Asher Eye. Where is Eye Asher Eye? Here. Mitzvot that interfaces with it. Okay? Mitzvot, rule, regulation, but it has to interface with Torah. So I have to have that in place. It says, each year you and your household to eat it in the presence of Eye Asher Eye in the place where Eye Asher Eye will choose. But if it has a defect. Oh, he was the Passover lamb, right? If it had a defect, could it be beaten? Okay. But wait a minute. Okay, maybe I'm being very vague. Jesus, you guys said is what? God so loved the world that he gave his only son. Okay, so y'all say that he's the Lamb of God. Okay, so he's the firstborn. He's the Lamb of God. If you're going to follow the narrative, he's got to be set aside for himself. How that works, I don't know. But it cannot have a defect. He was beaten beyond recognition. Is that a defect? It's not to be worked. Okay? It says, but if it has a defect, is lame or blind or has some other kind of fault, you are not to sacrifice it to Eye Asher Eye Yoel. You cannot sacrifice Christ and call him the Lamb of God. Apply the mitzvot. When you suck all the mitzvot or all of the Hebrewness out of a particular text, you can come up with whatever you want to come up with. I'm using the mitzvot and the receipts to say something's going on over there, Christian church, you need to deal with. It says you are not to sacrifice it to Eye Asher Eye. Rather, eat it on your own property. The unclean and the clean alike may eat it, like the gazelle or the deer. Just don't, oh man. What else does it say? Just don't eat its blood. Don't drink it. Don't eat it. Don't symbolize anything that's like it. Grape juice or the otherwise. Don't eat it. But pour it out on the ground like water. You're a Christian church, you're going to have to do some work with this one right here. Because if this right here invalidates your Christ on a lot of levels. Okay? Chapter number 16. Now we're going to get into all of the mitzvot. He's reiterating, not in detail, but he's going over the cliff notes on them, these particular mitzvot about the Moedims. Do we have to have Torah for the Moedims? Yes. Because these are, again, a set of rules and regulations that interface with that structure. Observe the month of Aviv. What is Aviv? Springtime. To keep Pesach and to Eye Asher Eye Yoel, for in the month of Aviv, in the spring, Eye Asher Eye Yoel brought you out of Mitzrayim at night. You are to sacrifice the Pesach offering from the flock and from the herd. Eye Asher Eye Yoel, in the place where Eye Asher Eye Yoel will choose. Right there. Okay? Will choose his name to live. You are not to eat any chametz, which is what? Leavened bread. Good. With it. For 7 days you are to eat with it matzah, the bread of affliction. For you came out of the land of Mizraim in haste. Thus you will remember the day you left the land of Mizraim as long as you live. For no leaven is to be seen with you anywhere in your territory for 7 days. We practice this in exile. And we are giving you the liturgy of what we need to do when we get to Pesach. You are not to sacrifice the Pesach offering in just any of the towns that Yahweh Yoel is giving you, but in the place where Yahweh Yoel will choose to have his name live. There is where you are to sacrifice the Pesach offering. In the evening, when the sun sets, at the time of the year that you came out of Mitzrayim. There's a lot of establishments in there on when the parts of the days are. Evening, when the sun sets, and night are mentioned in there. That's a whole nother different teaching. You are to roast it and eat it in the place where Yahweh Yoel will choose. In the morning, you will return and go to your tents. For 6 days, you are to eat matzah. On the 7th day, there is to be a, Yamore talked about it. He said when he's waiting to get back in the land to do what? To kick it. He want to go to this party. He want to go to this rave party that we're getting ready to have. In Hebrew Israel, a festive assembly for Yahweh Yoel. Do not do any kind of work. So we treat it as a Shabbat. Right? Okay. You are to count 7 weeks. Which one is this one? From the end of Matzah, you're to count 7 weeks. What's the next one? You should already know what this one is. It's right there on the screen, but it's called Shavuot. This is the next one. It says you are to count 7 weeks. You are to begin counting 7 weeks from the time that you put your sickle in the standing grain. You are to observe the festival of Shavuot, which is weeks, for Yahweh Yoel with a voluntary offering. You are to give in accordance with the degree to which Yahweh Yoel has proposed to you. You are to rejoice in the presence of Yahweh Yoel. You, your sons, your daughters, your male and female slaves, the Leviim living in your towns, and the foreigners, orphans, and widows living among you in the place where Yahweh Yoel will choose to have his name live. Remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim. Then you will keep and obey these laws. 13. Is that clear? Is there anything else we need to go over on that? Again, this is one we practice in exile as much as we can. A lot of this that happens in this particular one happens in for Shavuot is in the land. 13. You are to keep the festival of Sukkot. For 7 days after you have gathered the produce of your threshing floor and winepress. So these two, Shavuot and Sukkot, are connected to kind of this harvesting period. It says, rejoice at your festival. There's another one. We just party. We got a couple of parties during the year, right? Rejoice at your festival, you, your sons and your daughters, your male and female slaves, the Leviim and the foreigners, orphans and widows living among you. You know what the image I got in my head when it says be festival? Has anybody seen that carnival in Rio de Janeiro? You seen what it's like? With the big parades and the big plumage and all that stuff that's going on, and the dancing in the street and everything. You know, like a Mardi Gras or something like that, a party. Got that image in my head while I was reading that. Where did I leave off? 15? It says, 7 days you are to keep the festival for Yahweh Yoel in the place where Yahweh Yoel will choose, because Yahweh Yoel will bless you in all your crops and in your land. And in your work. So you are to be full of joy. 3 times a year. Those are the 3. When? Pesach, Matzah. When is the next one? Shavuot. When's the third one? Sukkot. Matzah, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. 3 times a year. This is what he's getting ready to talk about. This is when all the men have to return to Hebrew Israel. Or, excuse me, you're already in the land of Hebrew Israel, but you're going to return to the place where Yahweh is. Okay? So everybody's going to be packing in Jerusalem is going to be a great place to have some real estate. Get that. I'm going to tell you that. Because when it comes time to these festivals, the rent just jumped up 2,000%. Because I know everybody got it. Because I know y'all have to be here. Like, it's a mandate. We got some eye gouging. That's how Hebrew Israel got rich. That's right. And for foreigners, it's probably 4,000. You know how we be. Said 3 times a year. All your men to appear in the presence of Eye Asher Eye. Man, that's a mandate. That's a mandatory meeting. It says, in the place which he will choose, at the festival of Matzah, at the festival of Shavuot, and the festival of Sukkot. They are not to show up before Eye Asher Eye empty-handed. You will not be coming in here broke. But every man is to give what he can, in accordance with the blessings Eye Asher Eye Yoel has given you. 18. Okay, remember that part about Christ? Oh, come on, let's go back to Mathew chapter number 19. Let's read it. And then we're going to go back and read this mitzvah. This is a question that I have for Christianity. I need you guys to research this. And if you're so fit to come into the chat room on a podcast, explain this one to me. All right, let's put our spirit of clairvoyance and discernment in play. Chapter 19, let's start at verse number 27. Mathew 19, 27. Now again, Christ told the man, follow the mitzvot. He said, which ones? He said, all your stuff, follow me, so I can show you the rest of them. And then he turns to his Talmud and he says, you see, I can't even get these folk to turn to the mitzvot. It'd be easier for me to get a camel to go through an eye of a needle than it would be for me to get folk to turn back to the mitzvot. See how hard it is? So we pick up here on 27, and he said, Kepha replied, look. Matter of fact, let's go up to 26. Let's go to 26. Because they asked him, then who can be saved? And he says, Yeshua looked at them and said, humanly, this is impossible. But with who? Yahweh, everything is possible. So he said, he's not Yah. I guess he's not. Kepha replied, look, we have left everything and followed you. So what will we have? We've sold everything and followed you. What are we going to get? We're about as broke as you are. Yeshua said to them, yes, I tell you that in the regenerated world, when the Son of Man sits on his glorious throne, you who have followed me will also sit on the 12 thrones and judge the 12 tribes of Israel. Let's go back and get that. He said, let it, he say, let's get it. He said, Yeshua said to them, yes, I tell you that in the regenerated world, when the Son of Man sits on the throne. Okay, my moray pulled me aside last time I did it to say you have to define what that is. The Son of Man is whom? King David. When he sits on the throne, when the Son of Man sits on the throne, the only person that sits on the throne is David. It is not Christ. It depends on how you look at it with a Hebraic lens or through a Greek lens. Greek is going to be Christ. Hebrews, Son of Man is David. Sits on the throne. And I'm saying because Christ is a Hebrew and all of his Talmudim are Hebrews, they would have thought and looked at this like a Hebrew, not like a Christian. They're not Greek. They're Hebrews. So if I was standing there and I was a fly on the wall and I had tapped Kepha on his shoulder and I would have stopped him and I said, who's the Son of Man that sits on the throne? Kepha would have probably turned to me and said, King David. Because Kepha is a Hebrew. Okay, People, and they over in the chat section probably going crazy, ain't they? You done totally lost his mind. Son of Man sits on his glorious throne. You who have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones and judge the 12 tribes of Israel. You will sit on 12 thrones and judge the tribes of Israel. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you, let's go back. Are we clear? In the regenerated world, according to this text, Yeshua is saying all of these 12 Talmudim are going to be sitting on 12 thrones judging the 12 tribes. He said it ain't in heaven, it's in the regenerated world. Okay. Thank you. Let's go back to Devarim, chapter number 16, verse 19. Oh, excuse me, 18. Says, we're in 16 and 18 in Devarim. It says, you are to appoint judges. Who is to appoint them? Israel is to appoint judges and officers for all your gates in the cities. Eya Asher Eya is giving you tribe by tribe, and they are to judge people there with righteousness judgment. Go back. It says, you are to appoint judges and officers for all your gates. Eya Asher Eya is giving you tribe by tribe. The judges have to be represented by each tribe. I got a tribe from Naphtali's judge. I got Gad's judge. I've got Yehudah's judge. I've got Issachar's judge. I've got Joseph's judge. Yeshua back over there in 19 is saying these 12 disciples are going to sit on the throne and judge. So we now have to ask the question, which tribes are these disciples from? When you do your research, all of the disciples either come from Benjamin, Yehuda, Levi. Yes, those three. Point being, the disciples don't represent each one of the tribes. There should have been a representant of the disciple when Yeshua was picking everybody out. I need to go to the tribe of Naphtali and get that disciple out of there. Now I need to go to the tribe of Dan and get a disciple up out of there. If I'm going to stick to the mitzvot and fulfill it and walk in it, and you're going to profess this over in 19, you all going to sit on the thrones? Okay, then I have to have a representant from every single tribe because the mitzvot says it has to be that way. So, I can't, again, I'm giving you the receipts to say, okay, Christian church, if you go and look at what this man is saying, if he is the true representation of, I don't even know how this works, but I can't even get you that far because I'm going to tell you right off the bat in Mathew chapter number 1, the Most High is not going to come into this earth through the violation of his own word. So we got an issue we got to deal with there. But we're using what's here to say, okay, even in Mathew chapter 19, when he goes back and he tells them who's going to be entering the land, he's not even telling them. He's giving these guys a false sense of security. You're going to be sitting on the throne with Jim Jones. What was that group out of Texas that they had wearing purple and all that stuff? Yeah, something like that. If you go ahead, later on in the afterlife, you're going to be a king. No, you're not. Bruh, no, you're not. And all we did was we just applied the mitzvot to what he said, okay? We got to look at the ethnicity of who the disciples are because it has to be a representant from every tribe. And the disciples don't cover that. There are only like 3 or 4 tribes that all of the disciples come from. Not 12, all 12, okay? Let's go to 19. Where it says, okay, I was in 18. Let's go to 19. It says, you are not to distort justice or show favoritism. You are not to accept a bribe for a gift, blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the word of even the upright. Justice, only justice, you must pursue, so that you will live and inherit the land your El is giving you. Last verse. It says, you are not to plant any sort of tree as a sacred pole beside the altar of Eye Asher Eye. That you will make for yourselves. Likewise, do not stand up a stone. Eye Asher Eye. Your El hates such things. And that concludes chapter number 16. As we continue to go further, we're going to get into more mitzvot and more mitzvot that Moshe is going to go ahead and give our brothers or our ancestors before they matriculate into the land. It's probably going to go all the way up to somewhere around 20, 28, not 28, somewhere in 20, 23, somewhere in there where he's going to stop. So we're just now going over mitzvot. Okay, now, they saying anything in the chat? It's all love in the chat? All right. Okay. Like next questions? Okay, good. Okay. I want to make sure I do that. I've gotten into the habit of not acknowledging the chat. I need to make sure that if there's a question or something, even in the room, I know I'm addressing the studio audience that's here, but if there's questions in the chat that are legit questions and not troll questions, then we can try to address it. Yes, sir. Okay, so that is the question is what luminary, I'm going to paraphrase it like this, what luminary are we supposed to be looking at to start our months? The answer to that is it's a split. I personally, myself would say that you look at the sun and how you calculate it. And I have a whole entire dissertation and even a website dedicated to that. There are some that believe the moon starts it. And I'm glad that this came up because I said something about this earlier today when I said there are things that me and my moray disagree on. There are some things that me and the other morays disagree on. And this is one of these little nuances that's in text that isn't specifically emphatically stated. You will begin the new month on bop, 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 bop. It doesn't say that. You got to kind of infer it based on other reference material that you have. I think the answer to the question forthrightly is observe the mitzvot. If you think it's on when the moon comes out and you're calculating it from there, observe the mitzvot from that time. If you do it from the sun on a calculation, observe the mitzvot. But the point is that you're doing the mitzvot because you can't do it in its totality while you're in exile anyway. So anything that we're doing is practice. Okay? Yes, sir. If you go by the moon. If you go by the moon. Thank you for saying that. If you go by the sun, it's different. In the sense of it's still an issue of where you're counting, but I have a set number of, okay. You get into a lot of different issues with that, but I have a set number that's also given to me on how many days are in each month. Okay? So the problem with the argument with if the Most High said that each month has a specific number, then you can calculate how many days are in the year. The problem is that when you're looking at the moon, you're looking at a portion of the moon of where it is right now. You may be looking at it when it's full. You may be looking at it when it's what they call new, or you may be looking at its waxing gibbous, or whatever the scientific term is. You're looking at it from that particular standpoint. And if you count the number of days from that point, a lunar calendar and a solar calendar are different. A lunar calendar is 354 days. A solar calendar is 364 days. So there's a disparity of 10 days. It is a topic that has been talked about probably at length and exhausted. So really, like, I'm going to go over this too. With issues like that, not to trip people up, is to say if your convictions tell you that you should do it when the moon is out, then do it when the moon is out. Because you know what I'm more concerned about? That you're doing the mitzvot. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Okay. That's a whole nother, yeah. Okay, that's a whole nother class. Yeah, because it's where you have to establish where you start. Where does my year start? We read it. When's the beginning of the year? In the month of Aviv. So the Aviv is spring. So there, whoo. Let me just say this. Huh? No. So now you're applying some things that deal with time and how we actually calculate our different time zones. So in that particular instance, when we say, yes, I think where you were trying to go with this is that there's a beginning of the year when everything starts, and then there's a harvest time that's counted at the beginning of that year. Think of it like this. In the course of a 2026 year, when does the school year start? School year starts in September, and it runs a whole entire year. Right. So it's whether or not it's so if we're talking about, okay, the annual year versus like a school year or a harvest year or when that particular period starts. That what you're talking about is, you know what? We will include that in one of the things that we go over at the end. Because again, I'm giving you the thunder right now, which is the calculations are there, the receipts are there. It's just for you to judge and say where your convictions lie. Again, I will always say, observe the Shabbat. Observe the Shabbat. But I didn't tell you to observe the Shabbat, or you're supposed to be congregating. But I didn't tell you to congregate here. You congregate where you need to congregate. But just do the mitzvot. But again, at the end of the day, when we get into the land, guess what's not going to be? That ain't even going to be a question. That is not even going to be a question at all. And again, we're practicing as much as we can. All right? Anything else? Okay, very good. Stand to your feet. Let me bless you so we can get out of here. So you can enjoy the rest of your Shabbat and rest. Relaxion. We good? Very good. Very good. Tov meod. Tov meod. Come on up here and say this with me, Sister V. Oh, see, you know what? I'm doing that. I'm going to do that I'm going to do that every week. Be catching people off guard. Not you, but I'm just saying I'm catching people off guard. Come on. I did live last week. In the Hebrew, in Bad Midbar, it is customary for us that we've instantiated in this congregation. It's a good thing to go over this blessing before we adjourn. It's found in Bad Midbar, chapter number 6, verses 24 through 26, which simply reads in Hebrew, Yivarekaka, Yahweh v'yishmareka, Yair Yahweh panav eleke v'huneka, Yisa Yahweh panav eleke v'yasam laka shalom. In English, it means, may who? Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face to shine on you and show you his favor. May Yahweh lift up his face towards you and give all of you shalom, West Coast Hebrews. Until next time.
This is your man Trey, also known as Yashar.
Hi, my name is Haley Underwood. Welcome to First Tabernacle Fellowship
At Sacramento, California, where we teach the Most High's covenant and we walk in his ways as best as we can.
You're watching Yahweh's Exiled Empire.
There's a whole lot of people that don't know that the law and the Torah are the teachings and the instructions of the Most High to his people, not only to his people, but all who have an ear to hear